Let's do this. Welcome back, Mommy Millionaires. All right, so I'm going to jump right into it because I always say, let's get into it. We have an amazing guest, but you guys already know that. Today, I didn't know what to really name this episode because, Nikia, you have such an amazing resume. I mean, you're real life Mommy Making Million out here in these streets, girl. We have our special guest, Nikia Londy, on the episode today. And we're going to call this episode $1 Million Real Estate Beauty. Right. So we're going to
Like,
be it's like putting the beauty over the real estate because, we can't put you into a box, like you just really just don't fit there. So we're going to be talking about some of the transitions that you experience and how you've generated streams of income for your business. So give us a little bit about yourself. Tell the moms who you are.
well, I am the CEO and co-founder of Intriguing Hair. That was my first business, which is a hair extension and wig store. It's in Boston, Massachusetts. We also have an e-commerce website, intriguinghair.com, where you can purchase hair extensions, wig, and hairpieces. We have two main customers, one being African-American women, and then the other being women from all ethnicities experiencing medical hair loss. I recently, in March of last year, purchased the building that houses our location. It has five commercial properties and four residential. And we recently just finished a renovation, like a 4 bedroom. It's upstairs and downstairs, and it was extremely expensive because of COVID. But I'm I'm happy, and I'm actually partnering with someone, and we're about to open up the only Black-owned cosmetology and aesthetic school in Massachusetts. So I'm pretty excited about that as well.
Wow, talk about Happy Women History Month,
Mhm.
right?
Yes, definitely.
That is amazing. That's super amazing. Okay, so I'm trying to understand where to even dive deep into what it is that you were saying because of the simple fact you have so much going on. Where did this inspiration even come from?
I would say, like I grew up not with a lot, and I didn't want to stay on that trajectory. Like, my mom was addicted to drugs. She was a single parent. She was never around. I'm the oldest of five children. So I kind of was like that parent role, and I kind of didn't want to have that for myself as I got older. Like, I always knew I wanted more out of life than what was given to me. So I just worked hard at everything that I have, to be honest. Took it day by day.
But I think, like, for me, the question is like, you had so much going on. Why not go into doing something like doing a childcare business? Like, how did hair become your baby, your original?
Well, what? It's like something I've always loved, and I've always been passionate about hair. Like, I would like buy hair extensions, like, go to the beauty supply store when I had extra money at like 13 and to buy hair and play around with it in the bathroom and stuff. I went to
Mhm.
cosmetology school at 17. Honestly, I was a love, but it wasn't like I didn't know, that was like I think was the easiest option for me. I know a lot of Black women, they just go to cosmetology school just to, like, you don't know what you want to do. And then from there, my first job out of cosmetology school, I worked at a hot hair augmentation studio. So that got me into like the hair pieces, which I already, we was always doing tracks and 27 pieces, stuff like that. But I think that made it more like, like, oh, wow, I can make a lot of money doing this. So kind of just worked itself out. At 10 years ago, I started Intriguing Hair. I have been working for Verizon, and they done a series of layoffs, and I think it was like the third layoff. And I really had already wanted to start my own business, and I thought, this would be the perfect time. I had already been like selling hair on the side to people I know, like my friends and family and stuff like that. So I just said, let me just go all into it, and I think it was just like the right time. It was like right before Instagram like got really big. It was like I think right at just the right moment. I can't hear you.
That will probably help if we come off mute. So I was saying, so you probably got started around 2024, 2014, 2015. Is that around the time that
2013. I got
got?
formalized in 2013, so I'd say maybe like 2012. Like I had
Okay.
start, like doing it like not really formalized yet, but it was like 2013. I remember. August 2013 is when I created my LLC. I know that for a fact.
Got it. Because when you were saying like Instagram before it got popular, I know I started my boutique in 2014, and I summarized my story around that timeline. So you're right. You got started very early in the hair care industry. And what I like truly most about what you're saying is, I was the oldest. A lot of the responsibility did fall on me. I wanted to be a generational curse breaker. You definitely did that. And then not only that, what I also love about, because I was looking at some of your marketing, I always kind of like pry a little bit.
Mhm.
And so your marketing is amazing. Like when we think about hair care business and we think about just what really truly differentiates us in the marketplace, what I love most about what you're saying to me in your story is not so much that I just sell bundles. I don't just sell bundles. Like you stated, I do hair augmentation. This is a totally different ball game. And then for people that are losing, hair, you're restoring that beauty back to women, and to be able to position yourself as an expert in your industry in that form. I think that's why your business really has sustained probably thus far. And then just to kind of go back to some of the marketing that you had, I see the influencers that you were using very
Mhm.
early on. And I think that that's big. So what inspired you to even use influencers?
Well, you know what? It's interesting that you said, like, just what you were saying is I always thought, like, when you do anything, I always wanted to be the best so that a customer can't question my legitimacy. Like, if everything looks just like, really spectacular, it's like there's no questioning, is this legit business? If, like, so that's what I always wanted to make sure that it just looked like legitimate. Like, that I looked like the top players in the game. I remember when I started, I think like Indique was like really big then, and I was like, I have to be like so similar to
Oh,
Indique to
I remember them. I remember that company.
yeah, yeah. So I was like, I had to be so, and they're like headquartered out of Boston, even though they have locations in a lot of different states.
Yeah.
So I was like, I had to be on that level so that when someone wanted to buy from them, I would be considered an option. Um, and then when Instagram first came out, I was like, and like it was really really big. Like I would get all like I went to like major cities like Atlanta. Atlanta was big for me. LA was big for me, and then I just chose girls that had huge followings of women, and that like just them showing their everyday lifestyle before like lifestyle branding was a thing. I
Mhm.
think that helped me as well.
So the vision was there, and I love the fact that you said you did a lot of, I don't know if you knew it back then, but you were doing competitive research and market research, and knowing who were the top dogs, top players in your industry. And you're basically saying, I can be just as good, if not better than them. And I don't even hear people talk about indie hair anymore, no shade to them or anything like that.
Mhm.
But I remember like wanting the best hair, and I'm here in Chicago. And I remember wanting the best hair, and they, to me, back then, they definitely did have the best bundles. So to see your vision and for you to say, I want to be like the best, I want my name running in the best. And then, I mean, like, we're going to continue to talk about this back in 2000 and what do you say, 12, 13? Like,
Mhm.
where were you getting funded? Because we weren't talking about no PPP loans.
Yeah.
We weren't talking about people just getting business loans being handed out to you. Like, where was this funding even coming from?
Well, unfortunately, I did a really bad thing, which I think it's probably one
Gotta
of the
keep it
worst.
real on the Mommy Making Millions
Yes,
podcast.
yes. So never do this, never do this. And like you never learn things until you actually go through them, which is sad for like black people in general. But what I did was when I had left my job at Verizon, I cashed out my 401k. And I didn't know at the time that you can get a loan no matter what amount that your 401k is. You can get a business loan for that exact amount. Which like that was just like ridiculous. I think I lost like 30% of whatever my 401k was because I cashed it out early. So, it was, but I mean, I bet on myself. I don't regret it, but I would never advise anyone to do that in the future. Just,
Well, if it makes you feel better, when my job fired me back then and I started my boutique business, I was like, cha-ching to the 401k. Because you're right. We don't know. There was no guidance there.
Yeah.
It's not like we have a 20-year term life insurance policy we can borrow against. It's not like we have generational wealth. And again, nobody was handing out, like, here you go. Here's even grants. Like, I just
I
don't ever
know.
remember grants being so, like, I don't know if we're in a time now where we as entrepreneurs are making the path easier for a lot of people behind us, as we should. So I do see a lot of non-for-profit or organizations that are now funding business owners, and it's amazing to see. But I know what you were going through back in 2012, 2013, trying to figure out how to get this done without funding. So I just definitely commend you on that, and I don't want to skip over that before we get to talking about really you diversifying your portfolio, because I want you to just really realize, and I want someone else that's listening to identify like truly how far you've come, because maybe their credit sucks. Maybe they don't have the business funding, maybe they don't have the 401k. I think one year I was funding my business with my taxes every year. It was awful, it was horrible. But people need to understand, like, hey, don't make this mistake. I never knew you can borrow against and take a loan out, like the way you were saying it. So that's the reason why we have these conversations. And it's just to allow us to, make that connection and be the bridge to the next woman, the next mother, the next CEO, truly boss up where she is in her business. So thank you for sharing that. So, all right, so we have the hair care business going. We have the
Mhm.
influencer marketing going. The hair business is booming. What made you transition into real estate? Because I believe you said you had five commercial properties and four residential. Did I get that right?
Mhm. Actually, I have two. I forgot. I have another two family that I have. So yeah. Actually, well, if
So
I
give
could go
us
back,
the facts. Give us the facts.
well, if I could go back, well, this is the thing I know about real estate. Real estate creates the most millionaires. If I had extra money, that's what I would invest it in. Like even my industry, the hair industry is so like fickle. It's up and down. Real estate builds generational wealth. I
Mm,
bought my first property at 24. I got an FHA loan. I only had to pay like 3% down. And right now, like just like how you said grants, there's so many programs now than ever before. Like I think they have, like, even in my state, they give you like $50,000 down to buy a property, which basically is a down payment for FHA loan. You only need a 620 credit score. So I bought my first property at 24 for 230,000. It was a two family, but it had a lot of land. It was bad. Like I remember when I brought my like family to look at it. They was like, "What kind of midget house is like?" It was bad. Like it was like, "You sure you're gonna live here?" I was like, "It's gonna be mine." So what? I don't even care. Now, right now, that house that I bought for 230,000, it's now worth 800,000. So,
wow.
and that was 12 years ago. So see how much equity that I can now use that equity to purchase another property. And then actually I'm planning on actually building 9 units on that extra land, which like, so I always say just start. And then the first thing I did was too is the first property I bought was a multifamily because I knew that just in case something happened, I have that extra source of income to pay the mortgage. And most of times, like like honestly, most rent is more than the mortgage. Like especially where I'm at, where I live, Boston, real estate rental is extremely high. I always advise people to always buy if you can, because you're going to pay less. You're going to pay less. Like the average, like, let me see, a three family in Boston right now is like 2,700 to almost 3,000. A mortgage on that same property is like 1,200. So,
Wow.
like it makes sense to buy. Like it just makes
Yeah.
sense.
I
Um,
saw a post, and I don't know if you saw this post lately. They were saying this, it was a mom and her kids inside of this like really shacked up. It was looked like very ran down, abandoned property, but it was saying that, and I don't know how true this is, but it was the caption says she took her income taxes and she bought two properties. Did you see that post?
I didn't see that. I didn't see that.
And it's the most raggediest. property ever, but the vision is there. It's like, ha ha ha, y'all laughing, but this is property, like Monopoly. Once I get in here, however I want to utilize, we don't know what fund she's getting ready to put into this building, these two homes, but she got the property. She has the land, she has the real estate to do that. So, wow. Okay. So started off at 230,000 and now over almost 800,000 plus in
Mm-hmm.
equity.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if nobody heard you say I can take that money and invest that into something else. I'm actually getting ready to build land and make even more money on that property. So I love the fact that that's why I had to call this $1 million real estate beauty. It was like the beauty, like what are we gonna call
Yeah.
it? We can't sleep on what got you started, and then we want to make sure that we're being true. And then I love the fact that you said I got a FHA loan. Like, let's not overthink this process. So to a mom that's listening, keep it basic. Stop thinking that you have to have the $400 million house or the $400,000 house. Keep it basic. Focus on your credit score. Do what you can. Utilize the system. There are a lot of grants out there for first time home buyers.
Mm-hmm.
Use this, have the vision, and just don't settle for where you are. So I appreciate that you're saying that. What were some of the risks when you first got started? Because I know it sounds good really now, but when you first got started in that building, what the heck were you doing?
I don't even know what I was doing. So my husband, who was my boyfriend at the time, he was into construction, but his dad was a builder, and they were into construction, but they was like those construction workers that it took 10 years to finish. Like, so it was, he did a lot of the work. He did a lot of the work, and honestly, it took a very long time. It probably took 5 years for him to finish one of the apartments. Like,
Anything.
yeah, it was just, but he was working, and he was, but it was just like, okay, but we just, and we did a
Learning.
lot of the
Yeah.
work ourselves. We did a lot of the work ourselves. I'm not a laborer, so it used to. I remember one time I was sanding a wall. I can go back to this. I remember sanding a wall and just crying because I was like, how the hell do these people do this? Because there was no progress happening after hours. I'm like, I just started crying, like, oh my god, like this is too much for me. Like I can't do this. Mm-mm.
Isn't this saying like laugh now, cry later? We're gonna reverse that.
Yeah,
Cry now, laugh
yeah.
later. Because
I was
like
just like, mm-mm. It was
this
bad.
is this is man, I'm so proud of you. I just want to say that.
Thank
Like
you. I
I'm really
appreciate
proud
that.
of you. Because I know that wasn't easy. I know that wasn't easy. And so for someone looking to expand their business, because sometimes people hear 7 streams of income and they just start, this business not working, let me start a t-shirt line. The t-shirt line not starting, let me build a spa business. The spa business just ain't working right now, let me start filing taxes. The
Hmm.
tax business ain't working like right now, let me decide I want to be a coach. What would you say to someone that wants to diversify their portfolio, but they are not sure how it is going to, they're just not sure where to even start?
I mean, I think it's always important to find things that you are passionate and love, so that even in the hard times, it's not like work.
Mm-hmm.
And like I've started things that I was like, oh, I've seen other people do it. I'm like, oh, it could be easy for me. And I was just like, I didn't know the market well enough to do it. Like, like it's like sometimes you're looking out. Like I always tell people, like you're looking outside thinking everything's great, but you don't know all of the issues and the problems, especially like the hair. I try to tell people sometimes, like the hair industry itself, like to source hair is very, like you're getting it from another country. You're going to be dealing with like people. Like sometimes they don't even want you to use PayPal. They want you to use Western Union. There's no, like you can't recourse if they send you bad hair. So you
Yeah.
just like, I think like you should have some knowledge of the industry. And there's so many free resources. I tell people, like, people think that it's so hard to start a business, but there's so many like programs now more than ever before. With the George Floyd thing, all these different organizations. I was telling someone, just I did this training the other day, and I was like, Chase has a program, Citizens Bank, Bank of America, Verizon, they all have programs now that you can sign up for free, put your email, and you could do all these free like classes about different things, about marketing, about
Mhm.
financing. But I think more than anything, you just should be passionate about it. Like, don't just think, oh, like if you really think, oh, I'm just going to make a lot of money in it, it's probably not going to work out, because you got to be okay when it's bad too. Like, like it takes time to build. Like it takes time to build. It's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to, it's like, there are those exceptions that I tell people, like everyone thinks that they could be Ming Lee. There are that unique exception, but for the most part, everybody has to put the work in. And I would say you have to put the work in, or you have to pay to play. And pay to play means you need a lot of money to make it happen. And a lot of us don't have that. So put in the work in is, I think, like, just usually the route that most Black people have to take is putting the work in. So I just say be, like, just love what you're doing. But I was always against multiple streams, to be honest. Like, I was like, I always focused on hair, and then I realized that it's not like, sometimes when markets dry up, you do need those extra sources of income. So I do like that younger people, like, people in their 20s, they're like diversifying more, like in the beginning, versus like someone my age, where I started later. Like, I wish I did start earlier, but I was just thinking I needed to just be the expert in this field, and this field was going to do well. But then look at COVID happened, and if I had only one source of income, I'd probably be on the streets. So,
Wow, you said a mouthful, Nakia.
I know, right?
No, it's a good mouthful. It makes you sit there and think, because I try to always listen to whoever I'm interviewing, and I try to pick out, something that they're saying that I think or believe truly resonates. But I also have guests where I feel like they are dropping not only just gems, because we always like to, oh, she dropped gems. No, you dropped some real life lessons that can be utilized and applied. There's so many free resources out there. If you want it bad enough, go and research, find it. You definitely do have to pay to play. If you don't have the time to play, then you need to have the money to pay. Okay. And a lot of us don't have that. So a lot of people getting started, I'll say, definitely don't have that. And so never forgetting just like where you're coming from, but also keeping that focus about where you're going. And then some of the lessons. So I want to talk about some of the lessons that you feel like you've learned. Like, what were some of your biggest lessons that you learned in either your hair company or in real estate?
I would say the biggest lesson I would have learned is that I can't do it alone. And I need to, like, there are mentors, there are people that can help me. Like, I don't have all the answers. And sometimes if I just followed what I think I know, it's more costly than asking for help. Because, like, I think I'm getting out of that, but I'm a very prideful person. And I thought, like, it's like, I don't like asking for it, even though I have lots of people that say, if you ever need anything, I never utilize them as I should. So I think it's important to always talk to people that even have done what you are trying to do, because they can just, like, just having a conversation, you'll get something out of it. Like, oh shoot, yeah, I'm going the wrong direction. I shouldn't, like, I shouldn't do it that way. I should do it this way. So, that's what I would say. And then just making sure that I have people that, like, a lot of my mentors tell me this, is that to really grow your business, you can't be working in your business. You can't be doing the daily task. So delegating that and being okay with that is like, like, I have to be. I used to be so hard, like, have to be like I'm like, no, I have to see what they're doing. It's okay to inspect what you expect, but you got to give people free will to, like, do it their way too. So yeah, I would say that was the biggest lesson, giving other people the reins and learning to do that, and to reaching out to people that I know, or even new people, or making sure I network, going to different business events. Like, I would go to business events, like, I'm going to go, and then I would just sit in the corner and not say anything to anyone. And then just, like just making sure. I just recently, like, Shopify invited me to New York. I was like, you know what? I'm going to go. I went, I met so many different people. Like, I met this esthetician, we might be partnering with something. And just like, sometimes it's just starting the conversation, because you never know who anybody is. Like, you never know. Like, so how, when I got the building, I had a problem with getting funding. I just talked to this older white lady that was across the street. She ended up being a program manager for an affordable housing nonprofit, and she connected me with a lender that was able to give me affordable rate. Like, you just never know who people are. So, like, don't judge people based on how they look, or don't be afraid of thinking like someone's not like you're not enough. Like you don't have like that. You can't talk to anyone because you can just come as you are and be authentically you, and you have value. Like you have value. So um
I mean,
yeah.
Nakia, you just keep going on and on and on and on and on and on, girl. You're giving the real gems. Like, I like it. You never know who you're talking to, though. That's
Yeah.
the real thing. Like, I'm on the airplane talking to whoever. Like, what you doing? You know what I mean? Like, you never know who people really are. And I think that that's the significance and the beauty of building those connections. I love the fact that you talked about a couple of things, and I can remember these things that you said actually, because these are things that I preach, right? These are things that I live by. And when you're talking to Mommy Making Millions, we need to understand, and maybe sometimes people need to hear from somebody else, right? So let's back this up. You need a mentor, you need a coach. Get the experts to come in, get the strategists to come in. Use your best judgment, but you can only grow to the level that you're supported. You can only grow to the level that you understand. So having other people come in, having coaches and mentors, they're helping you get there quicker, right? It's not to
Mhm.
say you don't know what you're doing. It's not to say that you don't already have value, but it's saying that I am not the expert in this. And I mean, CEOs, we do this all the time. The next thing you mentioned was delegate. As moms, we do feel like we're super high achieving. We could do everything, and sometimes in order for us to be able to truly advance to that next level as the true CEO, we have to be able to build a team that's going to support us. We need that infrastructure there. Otherwise, we're going to collapse because we can't do it all. Like, I've heard the saying also say, like, if your vision only includes you, you're not dreaming big enough. And so
Absolutely.
what you're doing is essential. Then you talked about getting in the room. We're doing the 2023 Mommy Making Millions Pros and Prosperities brunch, and people ask me all the time. I remember going to an event broke one year. Like, I spent probably over $1,200 on the ticket, another 500 plus on the flight, another $800 on the hotel room. I had enough change to get me something to eat at the event, but can I tell the truth? But when I got into the room, like, I looked good, like I prepared, right? I prepared. And I had, like, I guess, emergency money, but I was very particular and strategic that I needed to get into that room because I didn't have the connections. So for somebody that doesn't have the connection, you need to get into these rooms and build them. The life that we want, the connections that we want, the businesses that we're trying to build, they're not going to be built from us just being at home behind the computers and not taking that next step. I love the fact that you talked about even Shopify. Like, I know none of these people that are going to probably be in this room, but the connections, the value of the connections is everything. So I love having you here on the Mommy Making Millions podcast. I think that you're you're showing proof why you have had so much success thus far, and I know it's not always easy. So let's talk about that. What are some times where you really felt like giving up? Have you ever felt like, I can't do this isn't working? Because we're gonna talk about the good, right? But let's talk
Mhm.
about the nitty gritty. Like, you know what, forget it.
Yeah. I mean, I was really there rather recently. I would say, okay, so 2020, when the pandemic happened, our business had to be shut down because all businesses had to be shut down. And then like some people decided to like vandalize and go through my store, steal all this stuff. And at the time, I didn't have insurance. That happened. I remember I was in the bed. I couldn't even get up. I was like, I can't take it no more. Like, and then I had just remodeled. That was the thing too. I had just remodeled. So I was like, oh my God. Like, I was like, they're gonna kill me. I just can't take it no more. I had to even go to therapy over it. Which I was always against therapy. Like, I was like, oh, I don't know if I need to talk to somebody, but allowed me to talk to someone. It brought like a lot of things that I put in the back burner from like childhood. So that was great. But so yeah, no, I was really depressed because I was like, what am I gonna do?
Yeah, because
Like
you
my
built this thing.
employees, I have to pay my employees. Like I was like, I have to pay my employees. All my inventory's basically gone. Like I
How
have
did you
to.
climb out of that? How did you climb out of that?
I mean, I just put faith in God. I'm such a big believer in like, when you could be. I've told someone this recently because they did a post like, I'm done, I quit, it's over for me. They cried, and I called them up and I said, there's been so many times I was feeling just like you. And over a 10-year span, I've had that moment so many times, like it's over. I remember I had like one of my accountants had been stealing money from me, and he hadn't been paying my sales tax. The IRS contacted me and they basically was saying like I had to pay like 30, or I think it was like 30 to 50,000. I didn't have it, and they froze all my bank accounts. They were like, "We're gonna put a lock on your door," and they was gonna put a big sign, like an orange sign. I was like, "Oh my god, like that is gonna be so embarrassing." They're gonna post, like, someone's gonna see it and post it on social media. But I'm just such a firm believer in that when you just believe in God, just random things will happen, like just magically. Like, again, I knew someone. My husband had talked to him, told him what happened. He contacted his friend who was an accountant. I had a meeting with them. They used to work for the IRS. They were able, based on their own personal relationship with the IRS, and to make a payment arrangement, even though they said that it was no payment arrangement that could be made. I had to pay the lump sum and it was going to happen. So there are so many times when it's like death is on your doorstep, and then just randomly things just happen positively. And I always say, like, life's like a roller coaster. Like you'll have downs, but once you're down, what's gonna happen? It's just you can just come back up. That's just all that's gonna happen. So there's been so many times. There's been countless times when I was like, oh my God, it's over. Like, like there's no money. I don't know how I'm gonna pay my employees. I don't know how I'm gonna get inventory, and just things miraculously work out. And I also am a firm believer on sacrifice. Like, like I know I'm about to do a school right now, and I can't make. I usually, when I do podcasts, I be having my makeup done. I can't do that. I gotta stop having my nails done. I gotta stop going out. There's a level of sacrifice that you have to take to get to the next level. As long as you sacrifice something, you could use that money sometimes, like how you said with your taxes. Like, I've done that before. Um, like, you just got to make sacrifices for yourself to get to the next level. And I believe in, like, always helping people too, because I can always go to my network. Like, like, it's always people sometimes expect to always receive. Like, you also have to be a giver. Like, I make sure that I'm a mentor at an accelerator program for Black people. I give my time to them because there's someone that has given their time to me. Like, you have to make sure you do those things. You have to, life is giving, take. It's not always about always getting from someone, because you never know when you do need that person, but you also should be giving back as well.
Wow. I feel like it's no way for anybody to and it's no way for anybody to not listen to anything that you said and not use some of these tangible
Hold
not
on. I'm sorry. Can I hold on 1 second? I'm sorry. I'm just gonna how can I help you? Because I wanna make you some other. Oh, Nick, can I can you sit right here? Do you mind if I'm just on a call really quick? Hello.
I want to keep us, because I know we're pressed on our time. But I want to say that I'm just extremely thankful to have you. Like, we're gonna have to come back and have another part two. I always say that. Like, I'm always saying that because I don't want us to get lost in the thought of some of the things that you're saying. But I feel like we was about to have plastic collection plate at one point. But what you're saying was so essential. It's so valuable, and it's no point. It's no reason why you are not in the position that you're in today. So I definitely thank you. What's next for you?
Well, obviously the cosmetology school. That's a huge undertaking, and I'm pretty excited about that. Like, super excited. Um, when I knew that if I did do another business, I needed a partner, and I just like racked my mind. And then the first person I thought of, I reached out to them, and they were super excited to be on board, and they brought something even bigger to the table. So that's what's next, and I'm super excited about that.
Awesome, awesome. Okay, well, thank you so much, Nakia. We appreciate you. I'm gonna make sure I drop all of your information inside of our podcast notes and our show notes. And so you can be found on Intriguing Hair at Intriguing Hair on Instagram. Anywhere else that people can find you?
Everything's under Intriguing Hair: Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, our website, intriguinghair.com. If you have any questions, if you're in the beauty industry, you have questions about real estate, feel free to reach out to me. I'm always an open book.
Yeah,
and this
and I
is
know we didn't have a lot of time to talk about it, but you also do credit repair as well.
Yes, I do.
Right. So
Hmm.
these are things that do go together, right? Right. So
Yep,
they
helping build business credit. I kind of I started to help to do it for myself, and then I other people, entrepreneurs, business owners needed it, so I said, let's start a business doing it.
I love it. You solved your own problem. That's how businesses are started. You solve one problem, and then you feel like you got the cheat code, and you can show someone else to do it. So thank you so much. I look forward to talking to you. Much success and blessings to you on your endeavors, and I'll be checking in on you, girl.
All right, thank you. This was an enjoyable conversation.